Hello there, Internet. How's it going? Welcome back to the show. Thanks for clicking on this one. My name is Pat Dan, and today we are here with user Possum Thief, who asks, I've always loved when people draw me in their own styles. Anyone willing? Question mark, heart emoji. We got a, series of photographs here, as is commonplace on the Reddit Gets Drawn Badly subreddit. That's kind of how we do things around here. I thought this first one was worthy of a little artistry, worthy of my sought after hand. As you may well know, so many people are constantly asking me, Pat Dan, please give your glorious, great, well-known artist touch to my photos, and I have to deny them because sometimes the photos just aren't up to snuff. But this one's most definitely up to snuff. I am excited to do another portrait. Been a little bit. It always, we have a few moments where there's some breaks in between recordings. And I think recently they've been growing more and more frequent. So every time I come back, I say the same thing. I say it's been a while. I'm happy to be back. And then I go away again for a long time. I don't know. It's a kind of an abusive, cyclical nature, our relationship, me and you, the audience. But I hope you can forgive me. And I hope, just for these brief, 20 to 40 to 60 minutes. These recordings can go however long they want, really. There's no telling how long this one's going to go on for. But, for this brief moment in time, just forget all the terrible, horrible things I've done to you, left you out crying cold in the rain, and remember all the good times we had together, and suspend disbelief for a second and think, maybe this guy's okay. Maybe he's all right. Maybe, just maybe, I can give him another chance, for the millionth time. That's the only way this whole thing can work out. Otherwise, just click off the video right now. For those of you who haven't seen one of these before, welcome. That was probably very disconcerting to you, but I figured, I'd open up with a bang. Back to business as usual. You never, ever, ever want to come back and pretend like things have changed, because who wants that? Change is terrible, awful, and no one likes it. So, I figure, why not pretend that it never existed in the first place? That's how I usually go about my life, and it's been working pretty well for me. But things indeed have changed. I'll have to admit, as much as it hurts me to say things have changed, things have gone, a little bit differently over the past 2 weeks. I think, some things have happened. I started a new, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this word on the air, so I'm gonna, censor myself, but, the J word, I started a new one of those, employment, as they say. I don't know, is that worse to say than the J word? I don't know. But rest assured, don't freak out. It's not like a real, serious gig. Like, it's not something to be crazed about. I still consider myself to be very much, a chronically online loser neat, despite the fact that I am currently in employment and education. So, I don't know if that term really just shut up. Let me call myself what I want to call myself. If I identify as a neat, then let me call myself a neat. I started this new gig, and, there's a lot that I could say about it, but there's also just as much that I'd rather not. It's one of those things where if I ignore it, maybe it will slowly get better, and then I don't ever have to talk about it again. But unfortunately, I don't know if that's gonna happen. It's hard to say, really. It's one of those. It's definitely one of the shadier gigs I've ever seen in the world. It's not. Listen, I'm not running like a drug ring or anything like that. It's not that crazy. I know. I seem like a really cool guy. You're looking at me, you're thinking, oh my God, it's Heisenberg, right? Like, this guy, he's the coolest guy I've ever seen. He must be, the smartest drug crime lord that's ever ran the streets of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And while, yes, I'm flattered, and I certainly think I could do that job. I think I'm well qualified for it. This is not what I'm up to right now. I am basically, just to give you the truth of the matter, I'm a simple man. And I'm nothing more than a mere store attendant at a gift shop. I know. Very, very disappointing to hear. But the management for sure is not the most hands-on. We'll say that. We'll say that. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna diss my employer live on the air because I feel like that is not recommended by the vast majority of people. They don't think that that's a good idea. Obviously, I'm not the vast majority of people, but I gotta please the fans because they get upset when I, make bad decisions. Anyway, the management style I have noticed is definitely a little bit sillier than one might be used to, and I found that to be a big challenge. Let me give you, an example of a little mishap that happened recently that I thought was very, very silly. I was asked via Slack message, classic communicator. It's a wonderful application. Shout out to Slack. You guys are doing great work over there. You guys, when you use Slack and you pull up on the main menu and it just gives you little messages and it says like, hey, you're doing great work. Or it says like, this is what you look like right now. And it has a picture of like a phone emoji. I really appreciate those. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, know what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't, you can imagine it. I feel like I described it pretty thoroughly. So if that wasn't sufficient for you, I'm sorry, but we do have to move on for the sake of time. But I think that is really the one thing that's holding me over in this trying time. And every time I get a moment to myself, I scroll up on Slack and I see, the positive imagery, that really keeps me in check, because otherwise I'd be going berserk. But I received a message on Slack the other day and it said, hey, this person's not going to be able to come in today. You think you could cover their shift? And I said, of course, yes, I would love to. I am so happy to do more work. It's my favorite thing to do. And so I did it, of course. And then, the next day, they were scheduled again to come in. And we only have one employee in the store at a time. I hate to tell you, that's just the way we run things around here. It's a tiny little shop, so it's like there's not necessarily a whole lot to do, to be honest with you. But they were scheduled again. And I assumed, okay, they're probably back. It'll be fine. Like, I don't even need to ask about it. They'd tell me if I needed to cover for another shift that wasn't on the schedule, right? Typically, you follow the schedule, and if you're not following the schedule, you'll talk about it. Like, this is not something that is just assumed, oh, obviously I'm going to cover a shift today. Like, you don't know that until you're informed about it. So, of course, I had no idea that this person was again not coming in. And there was a bit of a kerfuffle, which I thought that was a really silly way to go about things, to tell me one day, can you cover tonight's shift, and then assume that I knew that meant, cover that shift forever for the rest of life. Like, is that what I'm supposed to? I don't know. I just thought, maybe some of you would sympathize with my cause here. I need some yes men right now. So just tell me that I'm in the right, because really I'm geeking out over this. I just needed somebody to talk about it with, because obviously, as you know, I have zero contact with the outside world other than hitting the upload button on my YouTube channel. So I've been pretty isolated for the past little bit. And you'll notice, I think, in my tone of voice and the way that I carry myself. And in that time that I've been gone from the YouTube platform, things have gone awry, man. Like, I don't know how much you guys use YouTube, probably not as much as me, but if you have used it at all and are on this side of, YouTube, the artist side of YouTube, you may have noticed, things are not looking the best right now, for people who, post their stuff on this platform. Specifically, with regard to animation YouTubers, there's been a little bit of controversy. Not necessarily, honestly. I think it's been pretty unseen for the most part. Maybe it should be a controversy, but it's definitely not. It's pretty on the down low. YouTube has been keeping this under wraps for the most part. But there's been this thing going around. Let me tell you about it. Basically, people have been like losing the monetization on their channels and on their videos, specifically with regard to like faceless animation creators, because they get flagged as kids content, right? Content that they did not intend to be made for kids, that they specifically marked as not made for kids. YouTube will go in with their AI freaking filter system, and they'll go, you know, this looks a lot like those shows that they have on the television. Those shows that they have on the television where the little cat moves silly like, and his arms are all rubbery, and then the kids watch it and they laugh and they goof and they gaff. It's just like one of those television programs. And they see this and they go, this must be for kids, and they mark it for kids. And then they get upset that it's not for kids. And they say, hey, wait, you're talking about stuff in this video that's not for kids. Why is it marked for kids? And, you know, little stupid because you're the one who marked it for kids. I just found this to be quite a silly little issue and thought I'd, you know, hop on my soapbox to talk about it. So let me show you a couple instances that I've personally noticed of this happening on YouTube. I watch a couple of, you know, animation YouTubers. I love animation YouTube. It's my favorite place to be. And these are a couple of my favorite creators, right? Kelsey Animates made a video approximately 2 weeks ago, and it was talking about how her entire channel, or their entire channel, I don't actually watch Kelsey Animates. This is one of the people that is on this list that I kind of just saw in my recommended, but their entire channel got demonetized, right? And they had to appeal to YouTube. YouTube did not respond, so they had to make a video, and that video did get their attention. But for the people who maybe don't have as big of a following, for the people who don't have, you know, someone at YouTube looking at the videos on their channel going, hey, wait, they made a video talking about this bad thing we're doing. We should patch it up because so many people are seeing this video. Like, other people don't have that privilege necessarily. So for people like, say, Test Macaroni, who do not have a YouTube partner, his animated pilot, which he put a lot of work, hard effort into, got taken down because of the same issue, marked for kids, and they got upset that it wasn't kids content. It had weapons in it, you know, and it had things that kids should not necessarily be watching, as you would expect for an adult animated pilot, right? I mean, it's pretty bog standard stuff, but apparently YouTube is very confused about this. They don't understand. Animation is a genre. Animation is a medium. I'm sorry. I'm just like them. I'm sorry. I'm the problem. The animation is a medium, not a genre, right? Animation can be made for adults. Animation can be made for kids. Animation can be made for anyone. And so YouTube's very confused about that. They just don't get it. It's really hard to get that through their thick skulls at the moment, which is okay. I understand that some people just aren't as intelligent as the rest of us. I'm kidding. But I mean, I do think they've been handling this quite silly. Like, it's just the way they've been handling it is not the most awesome, in my opinion. And this is really as a outsider's perspective, right? Like, I don't have any skin in this game. I'm not making videos on YouTube that make me money. Like, I'm just watching these people and I really love their content, and it hurts me to see like this person is probably not going to be able to make the things I like as much if YouTube is punishing them for making them for seemingly no reason. They're driving revenue. They are making like actual high quality stuff, and it's just getting taken down for no reason. And then, you know, the last one on there, Mike Karf, he is one of my favorite animation creators on YouTube. He is the co-creator of a series called Bridge Kids. You should really check it out. It's quite the phenomenal watch. But it is, you know, famously an adult cartoon. They, in the first episode, have a person jump off a bridge, which is the namesake for the series, right? And this is not something that's hidden under wraps. It's not something that you have to go digging for. Oh, wait, this is made for kids. I had no idea. This isn't made for kids. I didn't even realize. Stupid me. You know, it was hidden in the small little text at the bottom of the description. Like, they don't no, it's very clear. It's very clear. And I know some people have a hard time watching videos, but it's not that difficult to tell, from maybe the first couple frames of the first episode. This isn't a kids show. It's targeted towards a different audience, and I guess they didn't understand that, so they took down his most recent episode. Obviously, eventually got reinstated because he has a big enough audience that him making that post was enough to sway the powers that be into saying, oh, hey, here's an issue that we need to stomp on real quick, or else people are going to get upset. But for other people, maybe that's not so possible. Just thought I'd shed some light, bring attention to it. YouTube as a platform, I think, has been getting worse and worse over time. And the choices that they make, especially with regard to AI, have really been not so great, right? Because this is an issue that people have talked about, right? I think Penguin Zero has addressed this. People are aware of this, and they chalk it up to, oh, YouTube is trying something new for their AI moderation system, right? They're trying to crack down on faceless channels because those are the channels that are the easiest to make with AI, right? You can't really make a channel with a human face believably and have it be entirely AI produced. That's just not something that the technology is capable of in most cases at this point. So they've decided to crack down on it very heavily. And the way they're going about it is just not very smart, in my humble opinion. I don't think it's great. I really don't. Aside from this whole AI thing, which I think people are kind of attributing these bad choices to, which I don't think is the case. I think this is just YouTube's philosophy at this point. There has been other bad changes to the platform over this time, and I think they're all very closely related, right? I think when you go onto YouTube, right, you open up YouTube, what's the first thing you see? YouTube Shorts, right? You open up the app on your phone, and it puts you in to the Shorts tab. So you tab out of it, you go to the homepage, and it's a wall of more Shorts, right? It's a wall of more Shorts. And you can't escape it. It's impossible. There's Shorts everywhere. I don't think short form content's inherently bad, right? I think that it's great that they're pushing this new medium. I think it's fun, and it's a new thing that's happening. Everyone wants to get in on it, right? I guess it's not that new at this point. It's been going on for a while. But still, it's the newest thing that's happening in the online creator space in terms of a crazy medium like that. That is the place to be if you're trying to grow as a creator right now, is Shorts. Obviously, everyone knows this, of course, duh. I'm assuming that you know this. I know maybe you don't. Sorry if I made you feel stupid there. I'm a little insecure. Sometimes I project those insecurities onto others. It's a whole thing. Yeah. Okay. But here's the thing. It would be great. I think it would be phenomenal if they were pushing Shorts, and the creators that they were pushing on Shorts were real creators putting hard effort into their content, like a Test Macaroni, like a Mike Karf, the people who sit and work and think about what they're doing and produce content that makes their viewers sit and think about what they're watching and makes people happy to view, right? That's, I think, something that would be amazing if YouTube was pushing. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Here's the kind of content that you get when you click on the YouTube Shorts tab. This is something that popped up on my For You page. As you can see, it is a live stream of an AI character playing Roblox, or Roblox Obby, with some music in the background. You may notice AI TikTok brain rot music. I can't really stomach much of this, so I'm gonna, let you live. But, that's the kind of content that they are promoting to people when they click on Shorts. And Shorts is what they're pushing. So, it's a weird thing to see, because now I'm thinking to myself, okay, what is actually the goal here? If the goal isn't to get more revenue by pushing the highest quality content that people will watch the most of, the goal must be something else, right? And this brings us to, I think, the truth of what YouTube is doing now, which is just trying their best, their dang darndest, to trick people into staying on their platform, and not people tricking children to stay on their not to say that children aren't people. You know what I mean? I'm saying like children are people, but they don't have, you know, the full decision-making capability of an average fully grown human being. So it's a little different than saying people in general, because it's a more targeted audience who is less intelligent and therefore is easier to manipulate. That's what I'm trying to get at here, right? And they are targeting these kids to sit on the YouTube Shorts page and scroll their lives away so that they can make advertiser money, right? That's their goal right now. That's the goal. That's the move, okay? And so that is why they are trying so hard to make it seem like they are doing their best to protect kids, right? Look, advertisers, here's what we're doing to protect kids. Not only are we, you know, scanning videos, we are cracking down. When we see something that is not suitable for kids to be watching, we take it down because we care. We care about our children viewers, which is, you know, the people who we're targeting right now, but we don't really want you to know that. Anyway, we care. We YouTube, the platform, we care. And in taking down these videos we don't want kids to be seeing, we are pushing forward the other videos, the higher quality ones that are really going to make your kids' time on our platform worthwhile, because that is what we care about. So let's see, what kinds of videos are they marking for kids on YouTube? What kinds of things are the kids able to watch on the YouTube Kids app, right? Because that's the whole point of marking a video as for kids. It gets moved to the YouTube Kids app, where children are specifically marketed towards. Let's see what kinds of videos are on the YouTube Kids application. I was watching a video the other day, and it was about one of my favorite, film series. Film series. A favorite series of mine, the Jackass film series, right? And it's a show that is clearly very, very explicitly marketed towards adults. There's genitalia all over the freaking thing. And it's just, you know, hours and hours of them punching themselves in the head, jumping off staircases. This is not something you want to show to kids, right? So a video related to this, especially a video talking about maybe a serious injury that had happened with lots of profanity sprinkled throughout, they would not mark that for kids, right? Because they care about kids, and that's the whole point, right? They want kids to be watching videos that are meant for them. So let's see what happens when I try to watch this video.
Bad shit that's happened.
First 10 seconds, by the way, he says profanity. This is the beginning of the video. It stops me. It says the mini player is not allowed for videos marked for kids. It says here, when I click on more information, this video is created for kids. I found that a little interesting. I don't know. I just found that a little silly, and I thought I'd bring it up because, to me, I feel like this goes against the entire plot line of, we're trying our best. We are the premier platform for children entertainment. That's what they're really trying to do here, if we're being honest with ourselves. That's the image they're trying to push, if I'm not, misreading the signals, which I don't think I am. How is it that they're promoting that image while simultaneously putting videos like, Kelsey Animates, videos like Mike Carfs, videos like Test Macaronis marked for kids? That's not content for kids. How is it that they are a platform for kids when they are putting videos like, I got bitten by a shark on Shark Week for Jackass on the kids' homepage? This is just not, it's not something we really should be doing. And I think it's a little silly. I really do. And, call me a freakazoid. Call me the dumbest guy ever. I just think maybe, just maybe, we're doing the wrong thing here, YouTube. And I don't really have a platform to speak on this. I don't really have a way to know that anyone's ever going to see this video. I thought, despite that, I'd give my, shout into the void and see if maybe it can change the platform for the better in any kind of sense. Because I, ever since I was a youngin', ever since I was a young kid using the platform, as it was designed to be used, a little kid scrolling through the homepage, when I was in that demographic, I sat and thought, hey, I'd love to be a YouTuber. That would be great. You know, imagine being a YouTuber. It would be so fun. Um, you know, I get to sit here and make the kinds of videos that I enjoy making. I get to, you know, garner an audience that appreciates what I do, and be able to interact with my fan base directly in a way that any other medium doesn't let you do. Uh, and I thought that was really cool, and I still do. And it's something that still interests me today. Like, I think that would be cool. The prospect of being a YouTuber sounds pretty fun, right? Not that it's something that you can necessarily, you know, go full hog on and just like drop everything. Okay, I'm gonna do YouTube, because then, you know, you look at you, you're an idiot. Like, what is the society gonna think of you? How are you gonna survive? You know, it's not a thing you can do. So, of course, here I am shouting into the void to zero viewers, making videos that, quite frankly, are not of the utmost quality. But YouTube's a platform I care about nonetheless, because when I see creators that I care about get, you know, ruined by the features that YouTube is implementing, I think to myself, you know, this is the platform that I once held on a pedestal, you know, thought of so dearly, thought it was, you know, the place to be for independent creativity. That was, at a time, my idea of YouTube. You know, this is the place you go to broadcast yourself. I don't know. Maybe I was naive. Maybe I was silly for thinking that. But today I'm here to tell you YouTube is not that place anymore. YouTube is straying far, far, far away from that place and becoming somewhere much different, unless we, you know, step in here and make a change. I'm hoping, you know, maybe my 10 view video will make some kind of a small impact somewhere out there on the YouTube landscape. And, you know, maybe some YouTube employee who likes watching really niche low view videos on the platform will see this and go, hey, you know, there are still people who care. Maybe we should too. So yeah, I just thought that I'd shoot my shot out there, send it to the world. You know, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Famously quoted by Michael Scott, in what Office episode was it? I wish I could, you know, it would be so funny if I could quote the exact episode it was in right now, if I could tell you that information, but I don't think I can. So you'll be left without that morsel of humor for the day. Or, you know, alternatively, you can imagine that I said it and then comment right now saying, hey, Pat, that was actually a really good joke that you made just now. I actually really liked it when you quoted the exact episode that Office quote was from. It really grounded you and made you feel much like myself, a big fan of The Office in my youth. I really loved the show, and I really felt connected to you when you were able to recite the episode, season, and you know, specific episode number. That spoke to me. So say that verbatim in the comment section. I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but you got your typing fingers ready. You've been sitting here for a little bit listening to me talk. So, you know, you've been all warmed up and ready to go. So I assume maybe you can make that sacrifice just for me, just this once. It's all I ask. It's all I ask. But, you know, for those of you who came for that YouTube yap session, if that's all you wanted to see from this video, I think that is the brunt of what I have to say, you know, outlined there for you. And you know, there's more that I can say about it, more that I might say about it, but that is kind of the main outline. So for those of you who hate me and want to leave as quickly as possible, you know, that is your cue to head on out of here. But for those of you who haven't, hello, how's it going? I appreciate you sticking around. Thanks for watching my video. Really hoping that this one can maybe reach an audience, not only for the sake of spreading this great, you know, phenomenal message. I really think it's very worthwhile. Little egotistical of me. I do think a little bit it's very worthwhile. Not like extremely worthwhile, right? Like I'm not putting an end to genocide here or anything, but I think it's a slightly worthwhile message. Something that, you know, this people on this platform certainly would appreciate hearing. So maybe it can get out for that reason, but more so get out for the reason that, it would give me a little bit of a boost to the algorithm, perhaps bolster my performance, give me a slight edge on the competition, give me a little more of an audience so that I can actually post videos. Sorry, I had a little bit of air bubble stuck in my throat there, so that I can actually post videos to people who might watch them. That's I don't know. Maybe that's crazy to say. Maybe that's insane. Just a little thought that I had. Maybe it can happen. Maybe it can't. But that's part of the reason for sure. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna be like, hey, I made this video because I really care about I really care about YouTube, and that's all I care about. And I'm such a big fan of YouTube, and even though I don't make money on it, I really want to see it get it would be great to see some flourishing for the independent creators out here on YouTube. Nowadays YouTube's very corporate. YouTube is very, build a team, pay people to make the things that will get the most clicks. Don't make the things you want to see, make the things other people want to see. That's kind of the way that the biggest channels are going right now. Maybe we can spark a resurgence of the independent creator, the one who makes things for the sake of making things. That's definitely a thing that I think has been lost in general. Like, people don't understand art anymore, which sounds like a very pretentious statement, but one that I'm going to stand by here. I think, for a long time, people haven't understood art, right? And that's perfectly fine. I don't expect an accountant to understand the inner workings of a freaking, Da Vinci painting. I don't understand him. Sorry. I don't expect him to look at a John Singer Sargent portrait and say, oh my God, the shading is magnificent. That's not something that they need to be able to understand. It's not a part of their day-to-day life. But, it definitely helps an artist when the world at large has an appreciation for what they do, which I think has been lost slightly over time. And it's not any one person's fault. It's not any one community's fault. It's not, any one nation's fault. It's just the things have happened. The things have happened, and that's okay. But I've definitely seen this, and especially, before AI, I think the biggest place that you saw this in was like artists getting commissions, and their client would say absurd things like, hey, I know that I told you this was great. Could you actually revise the whole thing right now for no extra pay in like 2 seconds? I have like 3 seconds before I have to, put this poster up. Could you actually redo the entire thing? That kind of thing. That's definitely a thing that artists have been experiencing long before AI. And even today, now, AI is in everything an artist does. AI is inescapable. And I really sometimes hate talking about it. Sometimes I love it because, it gives me something to vent about, blame my problems on a little bit. But I hate that it's so ingrained into an artist's everyday life now. Like, you cannot ignore it. It is impossible to ignore it. It's just a part of life, and that's just the way it is. And I guess it's okay. I guess it's fine. It's just the things change, the world changes. We can persist. We're stronger than AI. So we're not going to falter under this meager pressure. But now that same lack of understanding of art has continued. And it has carried on through the tech bros and the people who are so excited about new and emerging technology. I think, it's great to be excited about new technology. It's awesome to see new things come out. And that's what we've been doing for so long. For so long, everything has been about, hey, there's this new innovation, new technology comes out. Let's all jump the gun and jump on this thing and figure out what problems we can solve with it. Not because I care about the environment, not because I care about people, but because, I want to get in on this thing and I want to make the big bucks. That's how, society works. That's just how America is, big business, capitalism. It's all, it's all been said before, but, it's led to this proliferation of a lack of appreciation for artistry. Whereas, back in the day, everyone understood how crazy it was for someone like, Leonardo da Vinci to be able to have such a strong grasp on human anatomy, right? Like, that is an absurdity because we don't have the technology to look into people's bodies. He had to literally go into a morgue and take people apart to understand how humans worked so that he could best draw the human form, so he could best create sculptures that were accurate to the ways the muscles would interact, to the ways that, the eyelids would sit atop a person's eyeball. The minutest little details were the things that he was the best at. And people could understand that because this is something that we simply don't have the technology to do. Most people don't have the dedication to devote their life to something as, something as seemingly stupid as this. Like, we have to other things to worry about, like disease, like, economy. Like, there are other things that are going on in the world right now that other people are focused on. But he just, for some odd reason, he figured this was the best way to spend his time. And boy, howdy, did he do a good job. Everyone can understand that. Everyone could understand that. But now, today, it's kind of more like, hey, you made a cool thing. Sweet. Nice. All right. let me give you an Instagram like. Let me give you an Instagram like. Out of the kindness of my heart, I'm gonna like this post, and you deserve it. You deserve this like. It was a cool little piece you made. I'm gonna move on here because I got better things to do with my, like that's just what we do. And that's fine, and it has been fine. But there are changes that are happening, and now we're in a place where the landscape is just so vastly different that very same lack of appreciation for art is so detrimental to artistry and to artists who have been surviving off of their work for so long are now having to, paw at the walls of the cage that they've been forcibly trapped in. And it sounds terrible to say, right? It sounds horrible to be like, hey, these people who have the privilege of making art are struggling so immensely. They get to sit at home and draw on paper all day while other people have to, work hard for their money, right? Like, it sounds bad to say. But, it's a true statement. And I think really art is indicative of a successful society, right? Like, throughout history, the nation that's producing the best art is the nation that is the most highly coveted, the one that people want to be a part of, the one that people see and say, this is where I want to be. And we no longer have that. People don't care. People don't care if you can draw the most realistic portraits. People don't care if you can understand color in the most emotionally provocative way. People don't care anymore. And it's becoming a niche community of people who do care. It's becoming a smaller, percentage of the population who understand how important these things are. Not necessarily, inherently important to our survival in the hunter-gatherer sense of the word, right? But important in the sense that it makes people feel things, important in the sense that it gives us an understanding of how the human mind works, and that it gives people reasons to care about something. And people just don't care about any of that anymore. So it's just kind of sad to see. And I know I throughout this entire video I've sounded very preachy. I've sounded very, up on my high horse, on my soapbox, telling you, hey, this is how it is. This is the problem. This is the problem. This is terrible. This is terrible. You need to care about this. Whatever. But I feel like I have not really talked about it that much in my previous videos, and it's not something that I bring up a whole lot to everybody, and it's not something that I think is being talked about by the lay person enough. I think it is really an issue that is affecting artists, that only artists are aware of, that only artists care about, and no one else seems to realize the effects that this is going to have, on society as a whole. What is it going to look like when art is no longer imbued with the magic of human touch? Like, what is that going to mean for us when business owners, in an effort to cut down costs, design everything through the use of generative AI, that has scraped the work of all the great artists that have come before them and used it to take away from the real human beings who are learning from those great feats and understanding really what they're doing, where, a robot can't quite do that. But, I don't know. So I figured it would be okay if I stand on my high horse just this once and throw you, a little idea of where my personal head's at and what I think is going on with art in society, because I think it's an interesting topic, and I think it's a huge part of culture. To ignore such a massive facet of culture is to be a little bit ignorant, But there are people out here still doing it. There are people out here still grinding. And I think those are the people who are really going to make things happen. I'm not talking about me. I'm not talking about me. I know you're looking at me and you're like, okay, man, stop the glaze. Like, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about like the real people who are out there doing it, Like, I think the folks over at Meat Canyon Studio, the folks over, at Glitch Productions, they're doing stuff that is going to define how culture shapes around art in the coming years, because we need an example of how to make art that speaks to people without the use of AI, because people are forgetting how to do that. We need an example of how to work together as a team to create something that speaks to people and makes them feel seen. We need an example of that. Not that I personally am a huge fan of the Amazing Digital Circus or any of the things Glitch is putting out. Like, I'm not a huge major watcher, but I appreciate what they're doing nonetheless. Anyway, I really got going. I feel like there's a whole lot that I said there, and I kind of yapped on for a little bit. And I feel like I got a little like emotionally distressed, genuinely. I feel a tad smidgen. Smidgen, is that a word? A tad bit of emotional distress at this moment. Low key, which is kind of crazy, because I feel like it's not that big of a deal. But I've worked myself up here. I really have worked myself up here. I've been yelling and screaming about it, and it's gotten me all up in arms, okay? I saw this one guy on my Instagram Reels page. This is a good thing that Instagram Reels are doing sometimes. If you go out of your way to curate your algorithm to show you this kind of things, which I have done, you can find new and phenomenal artists on there. I found this one caricature artist in Hawaii. I wish I could tell you their name. I completely forgot it and I didn't save it. But I scrolled through their whole account and was just kind of looking at what they were doing because I thought it was so great. And they had a really interesting style. They were able to look at a person's face and break it down into simple shapes and then exaggerate those simple shapes to make a really funny caricature. They were just using circles and squares, but it was making a face that somehow still resembled the person while also just being very funny. And I thought that was a really amazing thing. I looked at their stuff and I kind of thought about it for a long while. and try to absorb some of it into my brain. I'm going to go forward and try to, you know, emulate a bit of that style if I can find them. Maybe leave a comment and I'll go hunting for them, and if I can find them, I'll link them. But for right now, I don't have that on hand, unfortunately. But you know, their legacy lives on through my art. I'll try my best to remember what their art looked like, and try to make mine look a little bit like it. But it was very cartoonish, and they had a firm grasp on line weight, which is something that I feel like most people do not understand the importance of. Like, line weight is so huge in making something feel lively, and like creating a sense of implied movement, or just like a feeling of movement in general in the art. Like, line weight can do a lot of heavy lifting for you, and I definitely undervalued it for a long time. I still undervalue it in all of my pieces and everything I do, because I feel like I just am not thinking about it. Like, it's not something that comes to my mind. Like, when I'm doing something, I'm thinking broad strokes, like, oh, how do I get this silhouette to look good? How do I get this pose to feel cohesive? You know, how do I make this composition work? But you kind of forget about those little details. And then that's where, you know, the line weight comes in. You know, thicker outlines on the bottom of a figure, maybe, or thicker outlines on the edge around the contour of a silhouette, or you know, thicker outlines maybe around the features you want to emphasize in a caricature. Like, these kinds of things can really change the way that you look at a piece, and I noticed that a lot in this here unnamed fellow that I found on Instagram. So whoever you are, you know, thank you. You inspired me. This is you know, these are the kinds of things we can get when we appreciate human art. Inspiration, and change and shifts. You know, these are the kind of things that can happen. Sorry, I don't know. I have to make everything about AI. Oh, he only talks about AI. Yeah, I only talk about AI. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. You know, a lot of stuff is happening in the AI space, and that is the place, like I was saying, where everyone's looking right now. You know, everyone is going, how can I profit off of this? How can I do this? How can I do this idea before anyone else does it, to solve a problem that doesn't really matter, but people will buy into because it's this big new thing? That is really exactly where people's heads are at. I feel like I learned a lot about business through the business class that I took this last semester. And I don't think I really learned that much about how to operate a successful business, but I learned a lot about how, like, business people are actually thinking, like, out in the wild. Like, I never considered, what does it mean to come up with a business idea? Like, how do you go through that process? But really what it means is just looking at the newest thing and thinking about how you can steal money from it. Like, how can I use this to get money for myself? That's really all it is. And they'll frame it as, how can I solve this problem that's happening in the world? But, you know, they're only doing that because it's necessary, right? Like, if it wasn't necessary to solve a problem in order for people to want to buy your product, they would never do it. But because people care about having useful you know, goods and services, the business owners are forced to maybe make some choices that are not their first thought. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, because otherwise it would be very confusing. I would imagine for a guy like you, or, you know, maybe a non-binary person like you, a girl like you, you know, anything of the sort. I like the word guy, though. Guys oh no, my brush is geeking out. I have snot all up in my nose right now, and I think it's because the room's a little stuffy. Or I'm just crying about AI because I'm such a crybaby. I have what was I saying before? I completely lost my train of thought. That's terrible. That's terrible. That's terrible. That's terrible. Oh yeah, I have a really high affinity for the word guy. For the word guys, especially when it's plural. Holy moly, it's got some sauce to it. Something about the word guys, it's just like phenomenal. guys. What's up, guys? Let's go. Let's get it. Come on, guys. Let's go. Like, it's just got a certain, I don't know, je ne sais quoi. You know, like you don't see that or feel that in every word. And guys has it. Like, you can walk up to a group of people you've never seen before and go, "What's up, guys?" And then immediately, just off the bat, that gives you a bump in credibility that you wouldn't have had before. And I know you're thinking, okay, you're exaggerating. Like, this isn't real. No, it's true. Like, it's not a huge bump in credibility, but it's a little bit. Like, if I walked up to you right now and I said, "Hi," like, you would immediately be off put, obviously, because probably you were not expecting to be approached by some random guy, but you'd be really confused because you'd be like, okay, what's this guy's vibe? Like, what? He just said hi. That doesn't mean, that tells me nothing about his character. Is he trying to rob me or is he trying to befriend me? You know, like, these are the questions that go through our minds in an everyday interaction, right? But when you get hit with a, "Hey guys, hey guys," it's like, okay, this guy's a chill dude. You know, immediately right off the bat, I love him. And maybe we can be best friends forever, you know, or at least me. At least when you have zero friends and you're really, really looking at everyone at all times, hoping that they'll go up to you and say, "Hey guys," that's what you're thinking. Yeah. Like, when you're fiending for some friendship, down in the dumps, just crying out for help. That's the kind of mindset you get into. I hope for my own sake this guy says, "Hey guys," or I'm gonna blow up all over this cafe, you know? It's the kind of stuff. It's the kind of stuff you get thinking. Not from personal experience. I personally never thought that because I have so many friends, but I'm just, imagining what it might be like for someone like you who maybe doesn't have as many friends and, perhaps finds themselves in that situation, that scenario where they're really hoping someone might say, "Hey guys," just on a whim, some random idea that I had, nothing to do with any personal experiences or anything like that. I just, sometimes I have ideas. Is it such a crime to have ideas? Because I'm just a guy who thinks. And, if it's a crime to think, then I don't want to live in this society anymore. I'm moving and I'm starting my own. Minecraft Anarchy server, and that's where I'm going to live for the rest of the time. Okay. Holy moly. I just went like crazy mode on it. Did you hear the velocity at which I was speaking there? That was kind of insane. I'm hitting my XQC mode right now. Whew. I mean, I've talked about this in a video before, but I totally, like, when I'm recording, I totally go XQC mode sometimes. And for those of you unaware, XQC is a famous Twitch streamer who speaks really fast, and he has a crazy French accent. That makes him hard to understand. His accent actually isn't that bad. It's mostly just the fact that he speaks fast. But he talks really fast and no one can ever understand him. And I've started really to understand him more and more and more. Like, the more videos I record, the more I'm like, wait, I get exactly where XQC is coming from, right? Because there's this intense pressure that I feel at all times when I'm on live recording to be like, "Hey, I got to entertain the viewers." And if I'm not entertaining the viewers, then they're really upset. And I this is all self-imposed, of course, because there's no viewers. So it's all coming from myself. But I still understand XQC because I'm like, wait, if I don't talk fast enough, they're not going to be able to absorb the information that I'm saying quick enough to satiate their ADHD TikTok brains, and they're going to click off my video, and then there goes my viewership, which again is non-existent. So it's not something I have to be worrying about, but something I worry about anyway, just for the fun of the game, just for the love of the sport. I love what I do. Here we go. But I do have, like, I don't know. I have this fear of working for someone else for the rest of my life, right? Like, I really, really, really want to be in a place where I can have an independent career, or maybe like start a studio of my own. Like, it's a crazy dream. I know it's a pipe dream, but I feel like I'm such the type of person where I have trouble not controlling things. I'm a bit of a control freak at times. So if I'm working on a project that is spearheaded by someone else, creative direction is in the hands of another person, I will find myself going, "Hey, this is like not the way I want to do it. This is really bad, and maybe I want to do it a different way." And I'll start like going crazy, not having the ability to do that, to make changes, which is, how it is in, the animation industry, which is kind of where I want to go, by the way. I kind of went on this tangent assuming that you guys understood, my goals and dreams, but I do want to go into animation. And I think in that space, it's like, it's very much cog in the machine, and like, you're very replaceable. And if you don't want to do what you're told, they're just gonna swap you out with a fresher eye, a new guy who will do what he's told. And that's something that scares me, because then I'm just gonna have to be compliant and sit and say, yes, I got you. You hate the way I did this, even though I think that this is really gonna be a hit with the audience, because I'm a personal fan of the show and I understand what people like about it. If you're not gonna listen to me on that, I guess I'm just gonna have to, say all right and move on. Like, that's gonna hurt me for sure. But I think letting go is a part of maturing. But also, I have an ego. I have a crazy ego, and that ego in the back of my head is telling me, wait, you're better than everyone, actually. And you have creative ideas that no one's ever had. And if you can, find a way to express them and actually get stuff made, you could be the greatest to ever do it. And I know it's probably not the case, but I still sit here thinking, what if I am Walt Disney reincarnate? What if I am literally the impetus for a media empire that has yet to be seen by the world? I will acquire many great IPs and become a powerhouse that goes against the values I once stood for. Like, that is kind of a dream of mine. One day becoming the next Disney. Pat Dan Studios will be for sure in the works. I actually do have a grand dream of Pat Dan Studios one day working out. I think it could be so beautiful, so glorious, and I hope you guys will follow me along this journey. One day it will happen. One day it will. I'm just gonna ditch everything, forget about sustainability, forget about surviving, and full commit to this freaking stupid idea that I had one day on a episode of MS Paint drawing. Really, I mean, that's how all the greats started, right? You hear these sniffles, man? You hear these sniffles? They're unbearable. I'm not even sick, bro. Wait, am I sick? No. Low-key, I might be sick. Wait, I'm starting to put together the pieces. I low-key might be sick. But you know what? I am an adult, and I have the option to decide that I'm not sick. That's what I've learned from adults in my life, that they can just choose to not be sick. So I'm just going to choose to not be sick on this one. I'll postpone it until like next weekend, maybe. I don't know. If that's a good time for me, I'll postpone it till then. Maybe we have to bump it up even further, but for now, that's a good spot to put it, I think. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to hit you with a little bit of this action and zhuzh you up in the slightest amount. Toss in a little bit of this guy and just throw him around there. I feel like it's feeling very flat right now, despite all the efforts we've put in to combat that. So I'm going in with basically my pencil here and trying to add some texture to an otherwise textureless form so that it will maybe look a little bit more exciting. I think it's a little too light at this point, so we need to add some darker colors mixed in around, just so that people know, this is a three-dimensional shape. Otherwise, you're looking at it and you're like, this is a drawn person in a paint program, which we don't want people to think, like, right? Like, we want to trick them into thinking, wait, this is a real guy. Oh my God, do you see that guy? He looks so crazy. It's a real guy in front of me. Holy shit, why does he look like that? And then they're like, oh my God, silly me. It was just a drawing. Oh my God, what a dunce. This happens to me every time this happens to me. Anybody? Nobody? All right, cool. Cool. I'm cool. I'm cool with that. I am cool with that. No problem. Nope. Absolutely no problem with me. I'm perfectly happy with that. Perfectly happy with that. Alrighty. In any case, it's the for you today. Thank you so very much for your time. I've been Pat, and you've been great. Until next time, kick rocks, pal. Bye-bye.